All right, so now what we've got is a good foundation. We've got, look, Crystal looks great, her skin looks pretty good, but we're gonna move on from there. And I wanna do a global smoothing technique on her skin. And there's a lot of techniques out there. And I came up with this a couple years ago because I was sort of, a lot of the retouching techniques were kind of making skin look like plastic. So I started practicing some things, and I came up with this idea of taking a median blur layer and a high pass layer, and then being able to make a mask, and then fine-tuning the high pass part of it and the medium soft part of it, and getting the skin to look the way I want it. So let me show you how to do that. Most of the time, and I've done this where I built an action, so I don't have to make these layers every time. I just make my action, hit it, and goes, and it creates it for me. So, but I'm gonna show you how to do that. So I'm gonna take the Command J, which is duplicating the layer, and I'm gonna hit that 1, 2, 3 times. So I have a total of 4 identical layers. I'm gonna take and put a mask on the top. So go down the bottom here, and you have a little row of options. There's the mask, and it puts a mask on the very top layer. On the second layer here, I'm going to do a high pass filter. So we go down to filter, other, high pass, and I'm going to pick my radius at about 19. And again, a lot of this depends on how big your file is, but somewhere around there, a radius of 19, 20 is a good place to start, and you can practice later and we'll see what makes sense to you in terms of what your vision is. And then on the layer below that, I'm going to put a median blur. So let's go up to filter, and noise, and median. A lot of people, and I've tried doing a surface blur, which works also, but I just somehow have come up with median. And you can change this radius, but I think for right now, 20 is a good place to start. Now keep in mind, I'm gonna fine tune those amounts of blur and high pass. The most important thing is to give you a little bit more of each, and then you're gonna back off on it. So you wanna make sure that the high pass filter, the third one from the bottom, is set to overlay. So it gives you a gray, 50% gray effect there, and so overlay just punches a hole right through the whole thing. So now I have four layers. I'm going to take and unclick the little eyeball on the 2 bottom ones here. And I'm going to go up to my top layer and activate and click on the mask. I'm going to go over to my brush, and I'm going to pick a black brush at 100% opacity and 100% flow. Now what this does is I'm going to begin to paint in. I can see where I'm painting. If I didn't click these two, I would be applying the effect, but I don't see where that effect really is. I may maybe see a little bit of it, but this gives me a real easy way of seeing where that effect is going to be applied. So I go along here, and I'm just going to paint in roughly where I want this effect to happen. Now, on a gray background like this, I could probably encroach over here. It's not going to affect it a lot, but if I'm going to have a background where there's detail back there, I don't want to probably paint into that. So I'm going to come along here and just paint along here and begin to paint where I want this effect to happen. You want to avoid the eyes. You want to avoid the lips, probably the nostrils. And it doesn't have to be exact. Keep in mind that by hitting the X key, which is toggling back between my white and black, let's say I go into the eye here, I just hit the X and I paint it back. You can also do this, which I've done, is you can paint, whoops, let's go to X here, make it black. I can paint the whole face and then hit the X key and come back and just take out the areas that I don't want to have the effect. So either way it works. And we're going to do this to the nose, to the lips. And you can also do this twice. So let's say I want to apply a certain amount of the effect on, say, the cheeks here and the forehead, but maybe want to minimize it in other areas, you can also go through and do this twice, and I've done that a number of times. So let's just kind of paint along here. Make my brush big here. And again, it doesn't have to be an exact fit here. You can see it's a big soft brush, so it's just kind of going up against the edges here. All right, so that looks pretty good, and I'm not stuck with that mask either. So if I apply my the skin levels that I want of my blur and my high pass, I can always come back and fix things. All right, so now let's activate those two bottom layers again, and you can see that I've got this effect really happening. I mean, it's overkill, and that's okay, because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the opacity layer or levels on both layers, and on the one I applied the median to, and I'm going to bring that down, and generally I like it about in the 30-ish range, and then I take my high pass and I can feather that down. So let's go down a little bit here and kind of just pick what's a good combination of these two filters. I think the key here is not to overdo it, because I think we've got a trend going now that's a good trend, that we're sort of pulling back the amount of softness that we're applying to retouching. I think a number of years ago we went to this, where everything looked like plastic. We're pulling back, looking a little more natural these days. So what I would do is I would minimize this effect, and then, like I said, later, if you say I didn't go far enough, you can always go back to it. But I would say that probably about 30%, 30 to 35% opacity on my median looks about right. On my high pass, I would probably keep it at about 75%. So once I've got that done, I'm going to flatten this set of layers. So let's go to Layers, Flatten, and now I've just got my basic background layer there, ready to go on to the next level.